All messages. Okay. Happy Friday. Now it's TGIF. All right, so we're going to, we finished the Sherman yesterday. We finished the stock Sherman. And we got some things that we're going to probably add to it. And then we're rolled right into the Matador. We weren't able to finish the Matador this morning. So hopefully we can do that so we can keep on moving. Now these inserts fit in this side. Okay, so they need to kind of go in the this side here. I'll make sure this is flush. This might actually work better than the other one. I think this is the side we want to use. Yeah, we want to do that because if we do this side, it's going to look all dorky and shit. We don't want that. What's up, Jeffrey? So, I'm not super worried about the accuracy of some of these models. But some things bother me. Not compared to people that do articles about how to scratch build things that are like really out of control. But it just generally needs to look correct. And the Sherman, I've been trying to discern what kind of Sherman it is. And I'm not a Sherman expert, but there's enough different things on the internet you can kind of come to your own conclusions of what exactly this is. And I have a feeling this is just, I don't know that it's that inaccurate. It just has a lot of things that kind of, for usefulness in what theater. You know, I wanted these originally to be like Italian ones. Well, I didn't care what they were. They were $2 a piece. I'm like, sold. And barring some of the details not being 100% accurate, you can kind of tell what they're trying to do. So it doesn't have the earliest of earliest suspensions. The earliest of earliest suspensions had this return roller on top of which was really weird. It doesn't have that. So it's not a super early Sherman. However, it does have the 3-piece transmission housing. And it does have the small hatches. So it is an M4, and the engine deck does seem like it's an M4. So the problem with this one is that it's really hard to find. It's really hard to find, not necessarily this engine housing or the small hatches, especially with like the extra armor protection on them, and sometimes the extra armor protection on the side, which I was planning on doing. I actually like the way that looks. But more this mantlet. So this mantlet is the small mantlet. And you see that actually more on British Shermans. And it has less protection on it. I don't know if they just decided to send them the mantlets that have a little bit less protection over to the British. Like, hey, have fun with these. Oh, you can't build you don't want to build your own tanks? All right, well, take the ones that will get you killed. Here's the difference in the mantlet. Now, this is an M4 by Armor Fast, and it's considerably bigger, but it's also 1/72nd scale. But these are close to being the same type of model. You know, obviously this has a lot more detail than the Armor Fast one, but the Armor Fast works just fine. It doesn't have a 3-piece transmission housing. But it does have, and this is actually a reconstructed mantlet. I have one from other Armor Fast that I actually had to reconstruct because I lost one. And it's the larger mantlet that covers the entire front of the gun housing. And what's up, Bleck? And it's hard to find Americans that have this small housing on the front. So I'm going to move forward like whatever, you know, and I'm probably still going to make it America. I figure, okay, maybe there's American tanks in Tunisia, right? And then we can use them as Tunisian tanks. But I have a hard time finding any American tanks with this small M34 mantlet as opposed to the M34A1 mantlet. Double Trouble, what's up? You love the videos. All right, man. Well, I love you coming by, man. Everybody's welcome as long as you behave. And don't use a handle like, Hitler, Stalin, Who's that guy that got assassinated in Czechoslovakia? The guy that was supposedly the inventor of the final solution? Whatever. Nobody's come in with that name, but can't even remember what his name is now. Heydrich. Yeah, nobody's coming in being, oh, it'd be cool to be Heydrich. No, it wouldn't be. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these guys, but I like everything else about the tank. Everything else seems to be accurate enough. But the front of the mantlet's kind of like in your face. Like if I painted this up like a British tank, it would constantly be hounding me like there's things here that aren't British. So anyhow, just food for thought. I looked at that today. And the variances on the Shermans are just as varied as all the variances that all the German tanks had. The German tank, I think everybody's tanks had a lot of variances, even the Soviet ones. This one comes from this factory. This one comes from the other one. All right, let's glue these. Let's glue these things that I didn't want to not glue. I actually thought about the last time I put on wheels. Was I happy that I used super glue? Because they didn't flex as much. Well, I'm more comfortable using this. I appreciate that anybody's even moderately interested in any of these videos. I do them for me, so I can stay on topic, but, obviously everybody's welcome. I'm not doing anything here that's, nefarious or something. Hamza. Who's that? Who's that Japanese guy? And is it Samurai Warriors? Hamza Hattori or something like that? Or maybe that's Hanza Hattori. He's like a ninja or something like that. I think I remember that correctly. Let's try doing this. Let's try putting this on so it fits flush. And now we'll put this on. And if it's too long, like it is, then we'll chop it off. That's the leftover dust from this packaging. Dusty ass instructions. Hittori it's Hanzo, okay. You know who I'm talking about. He was like a ninja, right? Is he the one that's like the ninja? The ninja with dreads? You know what I'm talking about. That's funny. I found out about those games back when there was a Blockbuster and you could rent games. And I rented one of them just out of, let's see what this is about. And ooh, all these tires are like melted. There's like a miscast here. I missed what you were saying earlier about Maya's front. You were thinking of. So I turned on. I forget if it was today or the day before, but I turned on YouTube, and there was a recommended best war games for the Steam sale going on. I'm like, oh, there's another Steam sale going on. I'm like, all right, let's watch this. And they had that one that was, it's called like Attack at Dawn. It's literally has like an Operation Crusader scenario, and like, oh, that looks interesting. But then the more I look at it, I'm like, this looks kind of hokey. Like, I'm gonna get tired of it after like an hour. You know, so I gotta believe in it. Some things are just too hokey. And one of the ones they recommended was Maya's Front or Mia's Front. And do you not control things on a tactical level? You like make like these grandiose decisions and then watch your little lemmings do their thing? Is that how it works? Or you could be like, can't you see there's a panther right there? You know, and like getting that SU-152 and tell it to fire at it, or the one game I never played was called Combat Mission, and there's been a million combat missions. And the only thing I don't like about combat mission is I don't like that the infantry squads are represented by only a handful of people, like two or three. Like it just doesn't. You're not seeing what you're getting, and you know that's a problem for me because that's the whole reason I get a game like that is to kind of see what you get. See, I automatically thought of you when they mentioned Mia's Front. But that time period, that's kind of the high watermark of the Germans as far as superiority of equipment. Because the 85 millimeter armed vehicles really aren't around anymore. I mean, sure, there's some SU-152s, some SU-122s. If you got a week to wait for them to fire, you know, a 122, that takes forever to fire. What else you got on that? Oh, we got all the clinkety clunkety stuff to do on the bottom, don't we? Scenarios range from what? They have early stuff? You control down to the squad and individual vehicle level, although they don't go precisely where you click, but the options allow more reals. So maybe like close combat, right? That you can kind of tell them to go over there, and they're like, oh, let me think about it, you know, and they listen, you bastard, go over there, and they're, you know, we have some control. We have most control, but sometimes they're dunderheads and don't do what they're told. All right, we've got a couple things. We have a 40-piece 46. These two pieces right here. I got to find a way. If there's a way to speed up close combat. It was just it's too slow. Like, it's way too slow. And some of those games that are real time are way too fast. I like close combat because the controls make sense. They always have. Some other games are like, man, just. Have you gone and played any of the Hell or High Water, whatever the hell it's called? I'm never going to remember. Call of Duty, Call of the Communists, whatever it's called. Gates of Hell, Ostfront. I don't think that was a good name. They should have named it something else. Not dipped back in yet. Yeah, the last time I played it was super buggy. I did play some of that classified 1944. I went back to that a couple weeks ago. So like, man, I didn't play this enough. Like, let me at least make it to like the Allies land. That's a hard game. That's a really hard. First, it's like, man, this is easy. My guys are just racking up experience. And then all of a sudden, you're like, man, we can't even fight our way out of a paper bag. Okay, this supposedly has an ending, but I don't see it. These just now I know where these Ukrainians and Russians got their idea for making instructions like this. From Airfix. And Airfix got them from Eschi. Okay, so the front of the truck is like this. Right. Then we're going to piece 46 attaches here in this hole. All right. Now where does it go? And apparently this attaches to it. I don't know how, but okay. I'm doing this for Marcus. Otherwise, I'd be like, man, screw this shit. And there's a peg here. Oh, okay. All right, I see that. All right, let's get these tweezers. I've been using these ones that self-lock. This goes here. And then this exhaust comes out of there like that. Got it. Okay. But this thing doesn't fit all the way to it. It's almost like it's missing part of it. Well, that's how it'll stay. There's a scenario for Mia's front where the Soviets have a bunch of KV-1Ss and Churchill 3s. It's set in March 43. The Airfix Sherman looks like a European issue M4A1 with welded hull rather than cast and rounded. Yeah. There's M4s that look like that, though, but that mantlet got switched really quick. So I could replace the mantlet or just leave it be, and I think I'll probably just leave it be. Nobody's going to know. Honestly, I wouldn't have known if I didn't look. I know. Why'd I have to go look? No, I got two more. And one of them I may have to remake that back plate. But like I mentioned, I'm doing the pains in the asses last. Now, here's the hole this thing goes in. I think that's where it goes. Yep. And it looks like it's got like an end that something fits in there, but it's not present here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it there and just lay it like that. And it'll be all right. Okay. Right. What else we got? That's it? Sehr gut. Wheels still, are the wheels still good? Okay. I'll still build the canopy because I want it removable. Let's go ahead and do that. The canopy is pieces 23, 24. This looks like it's made of wood, but I think it's supposed to be like a tarp or something. And I don't think I'm making either one of these for North Africa. We'll build a boom bar next. And then we'll go and start something else. I'll start something else I've never built before. All right, and then the two long pieces. In that scenario, other than a handful of 88s, you're often relying on Pac 36s to deal with those KVs and Churchills. Yikes. What is that saying of yours about not picking the hole? That's right. You get raped and you don't even get to pick the hole. You missed the old Airfix instructions that had step-by-step written instructions as well as exploded views. They had to move to exploded views only after the UK joined the EEC, as it was then. European Economic Community? That'd be the anti-nationalism folks. They wanted to... I don't know. How's that trade deal going between us and you guys? Is that going to happen? Favored nation status? Hey, I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of that. That's where all the toys come from. You came across your Airfix 600 graph spade. Do I build or not build? Build it. Build it. Send it to me. I'll build it. Nah, I would never build I would never build a ship that's not waterline now. Didn't exist when I was a kid, or I sure as hell didn't know about them. You know, I was a kid. I wanted to like play with it, you know, so to speak. Like you can't if that, you know, the half of the hull is freaking rusty red, looking like useless. You know, it looks like an eyesore. The eyesore from Mysore. What are you talking about? I had the graph spade. Even has that little plate on the conning tower. It says Cornell. I've played that battle many times. It is a really well-balanced battle. It is a really well-balanced battle. The only bad thing about that battle is it doesn't accommodate a lot of players. Like, it's only a 4-player game. And really, it's better as a 2-player game. Yeah, and I don't know how the Airfix kit was, but the MPC one for the Ajax, it called it Ajax Destroyer. They didn't call it a light cruiser. It was Ajax Destroyer. I'm like, that's an awfully large destroyer. Yeah, the Airfix, which you started to convert to waterline. Yeah, I had the Suffolk. I didn't have the Ajax. I had the Suffolk. I had the Ark Royal. I had the Repulse. God, the Repulse is a beautiful ship. just beautiful ship. What else did they make? Why did they make a Warspite? Or maybe they did, and they just didn't port it as an NPC. I love me some Warspite. Warspite and Rodney all day long. I went to the hobby show and they had a Barham. That a Barham by, I want to say Trumpeter, in 1/700th. I started to open the box. I'm like, nope. No, I'm not going to go there. I don't need to buy that scale. You get walkie-talkies, have to go to a football stadium. And there just aren't that many naval nerds. There aren't. You go to a convention, nobody's playing naval games. The people that are playing naval games generally aren't having any fun. They're not well, they don't act like they're having any fun. They're not very what's the word I'm thinking about? Animated. They're not very animated. And I like being animated, man. When exciting stuff happens, I like getting excited about it. All right, this side has the one window, okay? And it goes like this. So this level that has a little part on the bottom is the bottom side of both, okay? And then these don't have either side. Right. Cumberland is a what if. Yeah, the problem is Cumberland a true sister of Suffolk? Man, I don't think so. So Suffolk is a subclass of that county that it has that quarter deck. Here we go. We're about to nerd out. Whoops. And if I get this wrong, well, I haven't looked at this in 25 years or something like that. But Suffolk, because I wanted to convert my GHQ miniatures, and they make a Suffolk. You think, oh, you could just make Suffolk and Norfolk and use them for against Bismarck. Nope. No, you can't, because Suffolk has that lower quarter deck at the bottom. And there's only one other ship in that class that has it. And I want to say it's Berwick. It's a 4-ship class or a 6-ship class, that particular subgroup of it. And Norfolk isn't. Norfolk is another subgroup. They're almost damn near the same, but if you want to be a purist, and who wouldn't want to be a purist, right? She's the only one with a quarter deck. That and one of the sisters. And they made that damn model, you know. I think it's Berwick. So Cumberland, unless it's Cumberland, and in which case, I guess that would work just fine. Yeah, they don't make an Exeter, do they? That's odd. We'll make all the ships except, we won't give Exeter. We won't put Exeter in it. Except the most damaged one. And Achilles and Ajax aren't the same, okay? Achilles was New Zealand, was a Kiwi ship, and she had different secondaries than, and these are differences you'd see in 1/700 and 1/2400 scale. You know, you make something bigger than that, there's even more differences. Because, like, if you take any ship that's the same ship class, they're different from each other. Like Strasbourg and Dunkirk are different from each other. They're sisters. They're both French battle cruisers. The conning tower is different. It's heftier on Strasbourg because it's supposed to be like a flagship or something like that. There's slight differences on them, but like in 1/2400 scale, you can't tell that much. If they made a special model for it, yeah, I'd go ahead and, you know, buy the special one for the particular ship that I was doing. But there's variances in all of them. But Achilles had the older 4-inch guns. They weren't doubled up. They weren't I believe they were singles. Matchbox did a York in 700. Matchbox did ships? They should have been in the same scale. There's no reason that Matchbox and Airfix should have been competing with each other. I get the two mixed up. Neither one of them were available in the States when I was a kid. When I worked at the hobby store in the early 90s, we had Matchbox planes. We did. We had like a full selection of Matchbox planes. Didn't build any. I don't know why. The box art looked good on it. I wasn't anti-Matchbox or anything. But we didn't have any of the tanks. Otherwise, I would have built those. We had those Eschi. I'm not a big fan of things. I'm not a big fan of the Eschi models. Can you make the York waterline? The Matador kit doesn't have the plastic windows and the canvas tilt. Doesn't have the plastic windows. The Matador kit doesn't have the plastic windows and the canvas tilt. Well, there's some kind of, I don't know what they are. Maybe it's totally inaccurate. I don't know. Figured I might as well build this even if I don't use it. But I use it on my Opel Blitzes. I didn't want to have to commit to whether they're closed or not. Oh, fuck me. All right. I guess we'll attach it to here. Those seem to be all right. This can't be more trouble than those 3 pieces on that Sherman were. That was a pain in the ass. That took a lot longer than it should have. I wonder what else they made. What else mattered? What? Yeah, 700 scale became the. See, I think 1/600 is a better scale than 1/700 because it's like a fact. You know, it works with 1/2400. Or like, why did 1/2400 work? You know, and it works with 1/3000, right? One's 5 times bigger than the other. One's 4 times bigger than the other. Like, why do they have to go and create 1/285th? That's ridiculous. All right, now it doesn't matter which one of these two I use. And then this is removable if I need it to be removable. This is much better. Kind of needed this thing as a guide. Because if it's off just a few degrees, it won't come together at 90 degrees. You had a waterline kit of the Missouri. Matchbox did 1/700 as it was popular scale for Japanese and U.S. manufacturers. Well, not Lindbergh in their 543rd scale. They'll have like a Arizona and 543rd, and then they make a Missouri, and it's a different scale. And then they make a sister ship to the Missouri, and it's a different scale too. Like, I can see like Arizona and Missouri being a different scale. I can't see it, but I understand the logic because like you want them about the same size. And Missouri is significantly longer than Arizona, or that sort of thing. But if they make the Missouri and they make the New Jersey, they both better be the same fucking scale. Whatever scale you do, you're a manufacturer, XYZ, and you're going to make multiple Iowa class battleships. They better all be the same scale. Whatever scale that is, it could be one 1281 scale. They better both be the same scale, or you got some explaining to do. But nope. That is just nonsense. All right, Mr. Matador. This thing should sit up there like we want to. And this sits up here. And Le Matador is done. And it looks bigger than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be really insignificant. Actually, the tires look really good on it. It's a good looking vehicle. All right. Now for the big boomba. Up there. I went through a phase of converting my 600 ships to waterline for use in my Skytrex 1600 coastal forces. Sold them when we moved to 1250. See, there's another one. Why is there 1250 and 1200? Like, somebody got some explaining to do. I know somebody used to have a bunch of models in 1200, 1250, 1200. They probably had them both. And, those models, that's a good size, but actually there was a fair amount of plastic ships in that scale. Like destroyers. I just didn't want to buy anything, that I wasn't going to like turn around and build. Next thing you know, I don't want to get into these inklings of doing Yorkshire Gamer stuff, Next thing you know, because doing a bunch of H-class destroyer, but doing a bunch of British destroyers, that would really turn me on. I love British destroyers. Well, what am I going to do with them? Play a war game? No. All right. $1250 is German European and $1200 is US. Why are we going to be so different? Oh, well, we're not friends anymore with the Europeans, so the hell with them. Wait, let me get my daughter back first before I start running my mouth. Yeah, we need to get that whole favored nation status there with the UK. Get that thing going. That'd be pretty cool. Except for that whole driving on the wrong side of the road thing. Let me carry a Sabre, and then, then we can talk. That might actually be a good exchange. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, and he slashes tires from 3 feet away. Ha ha! Then you could be a fancy fencing fuck. Okay, not a lot of parts in this thing, is there? Piece 60 is the bottom. I have no idea how big this monster is. This would be a good scenario to like have one of these in the desert and have a 10-pack of like M1340s at the edge of the board. And they charge this thing, and this thing just see how many shots it gets. It's just a matter if it hits him. If this thing hits an M1340, there'd be rivets that'd be flying like 4 kilometers away from it. And it's funny because in naval gun terms, this is a small gun. It's definitely on the small end. But as far as land combat, yeah, this thing's a monster. And I don't know that I've gotten a good look at seeing what this thing even looks like. And I'm gonna see if I can make it limbered and unlimbered. If I have a choice, I'll make it limbered. I'll make it unlimbered. If I have to choose one or the other, we're gonna have these in an emplacement. You know, instead of having it raid on Rommel, it could be messing with Monty. Are there like major Monty fanboys? I don't have anything bad to say about him. I'm not one of those people like, oh, he was a piece of shit. I'm not going to go there. I don't know enough about him. Are there people that are like Monty fanboys? I walked into a discussion the other day in somewhere on the internet, and they were talking about how Patton wasn't all that. He just, he had all these supplies, and I think people like Patton because of his responses to things. It's basically like F you. Yeah, that's why I like him. He got some creepy ass teeth, man. You think Airfix was the first to introduce U.S. kit manufacturers have fitted their kits into a standard box size? Yeah, screw them. That explains the varying scales. I think Airfix was the first to introduce constant scale kits. The 5.5 was a medium gun. You can build the gun with movable trail legs so it can have in action or being towed. All right. Well, I might actually have to glue the little the feet in one way or another. So I will glue them in the it's getting ready to fire mode if I have to choose. This is a terrible location for this. Probably has a really big gun crew. Probably has 2-part ammunition. I'm guessing. And most important thing of all, you got to make sure that you drill out the gun barrel, because it's just going to look weird if you don't. All right, let's find the center and then go grab the drill bits. Okay. Uh-oh. Let's not run over this. Although it's the right color compared to the floor. Let's see. Here's the drill bit. And where is the container with all the drill bits? There it is. Little matchbox. I guarantee I'll have to use a bigger one than whichever one is there. Patton always reminds you of the Saw guy. Really? I don't remember what Patton's voice is like, but he's got a weird ass voice. Guy's got a weird ass voice. It's really high pitched. I just don't remember how high pitched it is. He's walking around going, "Yeah, man, we're gonna kick some ass, you son of a." Like, you know, I guess it'd be like, I guess he would be like the original Mike Tyson without the lisp. He was super strict about stuff that I don't think would be a big deal. Like, he was super strict about people not wearing a tie and shit like that. Like, dude, it's a combat zone. Like, fuck that. If I'm killing Germans, that's all you should care about. Like, you're kicking Germans in the ass. That's all you should care about. Worrying about wearing a tie. Who gives a crap? I think it's ridiculous to be wearing a tie in a combat zone. Maybe that's why somebody killed him and got tired of wearing a tie in a combat zone. Ain't nobody got tie for that. Got some paint build up here, and it's and those damn gators, man. Those gators are a pain in the ass, I would imagine. Like, how about just give your guys like boots that fit, that are the right size? Like, screw using gators. Okay, this is not working. This thing is just well, it may have been used by a material that just ate it up. That might just be it right there. Let's try this one. I'm gonna wonder why there's a drill bit over there. It's gonna go in the garbage can. I got plenty of drill bits, especially like this size. Oh yeah, there we go. Let's get some. Don't have to go very deep. All right. Yeah, 5.5. That's like what was in the E-class. No. Is it? Oh, that's 7.5. No, what's the one that they make? Frobisher. Frobisher is 7.5. No, maybe it is the E-class. All right. So here's the damn coffee. All right, you got this. We're good on that, all right? Got the legs. He's got the same squinty look. I always think that George C. Scott looks more like Patton than Patton does. I didn't think that was a great movie, but I think he did a great job with Patton. I think that movie is, people want to complain about the accuracy of Battle of the Bulge. I think the combat sequence of Patton was ridiculous. And why is it they can never find somebody to play Rommel that looks like Rommel? Like, Rommel doesn't look that weird, man. Get somebody like that even remotely looks like Rommel. I read an account of the Battle of Thomashof in 1945, where the Gordon Highlanders called in a level 5 strike of 16 5.5-inch guns firing 80 rounds each before assaulting what was left of the hamlet. Yikes. They didn't wear the kilts in battle, did they? Which is, practical, but were they part of that Highland division? Were they part of the Highland Division or the 15th Scottish Division? I like that 15th Scottish Division symbol with a little lion. I'm big on animal markings. I mean, unless it's not a shitty animal or something like that, like a fucking snail or something like. Lions are badass. You think that Monty and Python are very much alike? Well, does Monty have really good freaking comebacks? The British guy I always read about the World War II British commander that I always liked that had really good comebacks. I don't know if he had really good comebacks, but he was definitely larger than life, was Somerville. He cuts up a storm. I like people like that. There's a time and place to light people's ass on fire. I'm a big fan of Force H anyways. James Somerville. Jimmy. I don't know much about Pomani. I'm not a Monty hater, you know. I haven't read enough from, but it was funny because I went to that tank shoot 'em up thing a month ago, and they had the author, I can never remember what his name is, James Holland, I think is what his name is, and he gave a little bit of a discourse. Is the first person ever that I have ever heard say something not negative about Mark Clark. Mark Clark is usually like, you know, who are the worst U.S. command? He always comes up. Always comes up. Whether it's, you know, whether you deserved it or not, he always comes up. And I don't know much about Mark Clark other than, you know, I mean, he took Rome. He took Rome one day before D-Day. Talk about somebody stealing his thunder. Uh-oh. So that tank looks exactly the same except for the transmission housing. But I don't think any of the M4A1s were ever welded whole. I think they were all cast whole. And we've got one of those coming up. I got a cast whole M4A1 to do. And whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine whatever we do with it. We're going to doctor it up. And if it bugs me that bad, I can make it's not going to bug me that bad. It's $2. If it bugs me that bad, I'll make them for Tunisia. Like if there was any place that didn't have the mantlets ready for it, it'd be in Tunisia. Ay, carajo. Oh! A slow fumble. All right. These two. All right. What else goes on there? These little suspensionoid things. The 1st Battalion and 5th, 7th Battalion were with the 51st Highlanders, and 2nd Battalion were with the 15th Scottish Division. Kilts only worn on parades or on guard duty of VIPs. What about the guys that played the bagpipes? I'd love to have some guy on the battlefield that every time it's his turn, you know, you strike up some, you know, whatever. What's the most Scottish of last names? Campbell? Duncan? I have a Duncan already. I think I have a Duncan. And he just looks like a regular British person. I think I actually have a Campbell too. Maybe I have a Campbell, not a Duncan. That's what it is. Douglas. No stereotypical British last name. Marcus, you guys look good. You're still in desert mode, huh? That the Airfix Bren gun carrier? All right. PSC. Man, they wanted too much money for those things. Actually, I didn't get them because there was 7 in the pack and you had to like get all these weird versions. Like it was just strange. Well, I didn't want them. I didn't want them bad enough. I didn't need them bad enough. Okay, this goes up. All right, both pieces go up. So then this one needs to go on this side, right? And then this one fits on this side, right? The SAS Jeep is from Chad. Yeah, I think he's on, right? It's May. He's done, right? He's done. He's got to go to, I don't know. I never knew what kind of a seasonal service he has. He's got a lawn mowing service or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's picking mushrooms. Who knows? But all the hobby shops, shows I've been to, one of the things that I have been on the lookout for, because not only would I like to get them, I'd like to get them like really cheap. And I haven't seen them once. Is the Italeri 2-packs. The Italeri twofers. Not once have I seen them. Oh, they have this like this, so you could still move it. All right. Well, I don't know if I want to commit to it always moving on. Let's see where I've got to put these little. The clamps. I'm likely to make it set up. I don't want to tow it. I don't want to show it towed. It doesn't look impressive. Spread them legs out and let this puppy breathe. I'll tell you what, I'm going to glue this down, and if they stayed glued down, they stayed glued down. I'm not going to purposefully put glue in there, but it does need to be attached. Maybe I can get crafty in here. Bagpipes are not normally used in action, but sometimes used to identify different units in 15 Scots when moving or. Well, I'll tell you what, they feature in the game. They feature in the game. So if there's people in the UK, there are people in the UK that do this, that don't like people from Scotland. Do they automatically say they don't like bagpipes either? Actually, that may be the reason they don't like people from Scotland. They don't like bagpipes. Had enough of that noise. Oh, let's go ahead and glue. Add a little bit here to this one. Put these two together. Which itinerary kit are you hunting? I think Hobby Link has the best deals for those. No, I want to buy something for fucking $8, man. I want 2 tanks for 8. I mean, I don't need anything, so I might as well look for like super deals. Is Hobby Link a legit place to buy from? Not like that one place that is just nefarious. You know who I'm talking about. I just can't remember what they are. They've got like multiple. They got one that does planes. They got one that does armor. They have one that does ships, and they're all the same people in Pennsylvania that are thieves. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Well, I meant it. Because they literally are thieves. They'll show all this stuff in stock and end up having nothing. They're like Armor Depot or something like that. That's a nefarious fucking place. It's a shame that there's people that are like that. I mean, this is too niche of a thing to be castigating people that are just a few customers. It's not like, oh, we can just piss off half the people. People still have to buy groceries. Like, they're not going to come back to you. Hobby Link is like Brookhurst. You mean Hobby Link is how Brookhurst used to be? I haven't ordered for them in a long time. Brookhurst used to carry everything. Remember, they used to import everything in the U.S., and I guess either they didn't want to order. I don't know what happened. It probably had to do with somebody retiring. I guarantee it had something to do with that. Because one of the main guys at Brookhurst used to come to Historicon, but he didn't bring any of the cool stuff with him. Like, oh, I got those, but they're back at the store. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, they carried all the Peter Pig figures. They brought all the Peter Pigs with them. But that was it. There was this one guy, I got all my Battlefield from this guy in Massachusetts called George Guerriero. He imported all the Battlefield stuff. And he still used to go to the cons, but he got out of 20 mil because, only you and I are buying it. If I didn't have any skirmish figures and I had to start over, I'd do 20s again. No regrets. I'm doing 20s. Now, I have a feeling that these little pegs are going to be too long. So we're just going to cut these a bit. And we're going to put this one here. Hobby Link. Hobby Link, I saw had some things that I thought were out of production. So I didn't know. And every time I see that Pegasus KV1, it might have been the KV1, KV2 set for Pegasus. Every time I see one of those, I'm like, oh, I should get another one. Because it's a hell of a deal. You get 2 vehicles and you get 4 turrets, but I've already have 2 of those packs. How many more KV2s do I need? None. I already got 4 of them. Might even have 6. It's too many. Only reason to have that many KV2s is they reload so slow that if you stagger them, you can get one to fire every turn. It fires once every 6 turns. So if you got 6 KV2s, then one's firing every turn while the other ones are reloading. All right. Hopefully this has enough oomph in it now that I can sneak this little guy in there. I don't really need to raise and lower this thing. It's not high on my priority. There we go. We need to be able to pry it open a little bit. Man, these shock absorbers just like aim right into the sky. It's a good looking, I mean, it's kind of basic, but I don't know that it's, somebody would tell me, oh, it's a really basic gun. I don't think it's that basic. I think it's all right. Okay, if somehow these attach underneath, well, it's got to be there. That's what those little pegs are for. That's what pegs are for. Okay, that's enough. I'm not a singer. And what I mean by that is, I don't even enjoy singing, even if I was any good at it. Because there's some people that enjoy sing. I know one of them that enjoys singing, and they suck at it. Like, you know, be like if you enjoy driving, but every time you get behind the wheel, you run the car off the road. Like, I don't give a shit how much you enjoy it. You shouldn't be driving, dude. So I guess maybe I should make a funny voice. That way I could get more viewers. Today we're going to work on canning. No, then it wouldn't fall into I'm just being myself. You know, you can recreate that Kursk scenario. Which Kursk scenario? Oh, I know which one you're talking about, but I think it's incorrect. And I read it again, and it didn't say KV2s. So I think I misunderstood. I bet it wasn't KV2s. I don't think any KV2 survived past mid 42. I don't think any KV2s were in functioning order at the same period of Stalingrad. I didn't say it's Stalingrad. I just mean the same, like November 1942, none of them working anymore. Supposedly, the T-35s never saw snow. Supposedly. Well, I'm not going to glue this up because I kind of like the idea of a gun of this caliber being pointed down at about 10 degrees, down at about 8 degrees. Like, the infantry are coming. Oh, really? How close are they? Bam! You know, like, va! I think it's a pretty good looking gun. And so far, it looks like we're going to be able to move. This one's hardening up. Well, let's make sure we leave it open because we don't want it closed. Yeah, because I don't mind putting this somewhere. It's like it's being towed. Okay, we'll just pretend it's connected. Okay. The Matador and the 5.5-inch gun are complete. Well, you know what that means. Let's go pick something else. I know it did sound like a good one. It's probably late. It probably was KVs. It was just like KV 4142s. You know, ones with that. I don't like those. Are ugly as shit. The ones with the roundy, the super roundy. Not the KV 1Ss. Those look good. The KV 141. You know which ones I'm talking about. They're ugly. They look like a ugly simpleton. All right, you know what that means. It's time to go get another kit. Be right back, folks. Okay, so I brought two. Well, we need to get rid of these instructions. I gotta be careful because one of these was in an attic and it might have some irritants in it. I mean, like super condensed mites or something. I'm gonna ditch these instructions. I think these instructions are aged. Let me just get this out of the way here. So I brought two things. The Humber armored car. I also brought this Sherman. Now this Sherman is really weird, okay? Because according to this, it's an M4 Sherman. Now what's pictured here is this. And I got this from Passed Away. We find it. It looks a lot like this thing right here. This is kind of a mystery. I believe this is a Fujimi kit. It looks a lot like this guy. It looks like a 105. It actually looks exactly like that. It's got the late suspension. This has the late suspension. It has the 105. This has the 105. This is this tank, which I would not call an M4 Sherman. I would call this an M4A3 105 with HVSS. But when you open this thing up, what you actually get it's got a cast hull M4A1 in it, which I would rather have this than another one of these. This is like, yeah, spot on. We want this puppy, right? But the instructions say M4A1 and say M4A1 Sherman. So, oh, this is 13 Nito, and this is Fujimi something else. So this is not the box that this kit came in. So this actually comes with a M4A1 and a little Jeep. Pretty freaking cool, assuming all the pieces are here. So this looks pretty good. Now, is it in fact 1/76 scale? Sure looks like it. Okay. This one you could do British. You could make this one British, for sure. I'm not going to. And it's not because I hate the British things. That would be the wrong. That'd be the completely wrong take on it. It would be just because what am I going to do with one British tank? You know. And of course we have the Daimler. Daimler or was it the Humber? Daimler Mark II. Let's pull the Daimler. Let's pull the Daimler. Get this guy off to the side. You had the Fujimi one? I believe this was a $2 item. Oh, it even says $2 on it. Frickin' seal. There's another guy at one of the shows who's trying to sell one of these for 10, which isn't a bad deal either, but Daimler and Mini Craft Hasegawa. They were in cahoots together? Oh, look at this figure here. He's giving all the Jerrys the finger. Oh man, it doesn't tell these guys to paint him fresh. All right. This thing should go together like a breeze. Now, I'm probably not going to make this for North Africa. Well, my Africa stuff is in Crusader. These guys weren't around for Operation Crusader. This is an armored car with a 40 frickin' millimeter gun in it. That's heavy duty for the Brits. What happened here? Oh, what in the limp dick? All right, let's tighten this up. All right. It's inside a box and it's faded. Decals. Ooh. A rod? Nope, 2 rods. Better not lose those. That's a pain in the ass to replace. You like the metal axles? Why? Oh, now we have a bunch of F numbers now that I've painted my own. So it gives markings for first armored, desert rats, desert rats here. These are the ones that go on the side of the turret. Don't know what unit that's supposed to be. This is more desert rat insignia. This is 8th Armored Brigade. What else do we have here? Oh, the Rhino, 1st Armored Division. That'd be for Tunisia. All right. Let's put this bugger together. I don't like the metal axle. It's got to get super glue, but I expect no problems with this. All right. Wow, it makes you start with a turret. Oh, and it's instructions. Cement 27 to 32, then cement 32 to 14, cement 21 to 11, and to 14 as indicated. Cement 24 and 34 to 14, cement 130. Yatta. Right, we're going to go down here. We're going to go down here. You know, if you're going to have parts, have them already welded. Mind painting all this stuff. I just don't want to, fiddly. It's not even gluing them. I don't want to clean them off. I don't want to clean the flash off of them. Looks like it's molded in Portland stone. Okay, that's done. Too far away from me. Okay, we got 15. And the question is there 4 15s? There are. Okay, so we've gone from the Airfix method of labeling every single piece 15, 16, 17, 18, even though the same pieces. These Japanese are like, we ain't got time for that. They call them all 15. You bring this on up. Call them all the same thing. It does not matter which one you get. You bring shame on your family. So we're gonna have all 4 of those. We'll put that on all 4 of the areas. And should be 4 16s, right? All 4 of them are called 16. Well, we didn't get a visitor. We didn't get a visit from somebody named Hitler today. That's good. I hope it's somebody just trying to get a rise out of me, which isn't going to it isn't going to work, and not somebody who really likes Hitler. There's some people out there, so I've been told. There's one. Two. Three. Yeah, I figured it was like, man, because these armored cars, some of these British armored cars went to the desert, and having a 2-pounder gun on an armored car in 1941 is pretty fucking deadly. But apparently, they didn't have any, because the most heavily armored car at the time was the Humbers that I have, and they had that 15 millimeter Bisa. I can't remember if it's Besa or Bisa. I want to call it a Besa, but Besa. Because the British were really impressed by the German armored cars. I'm like, they're just armed with a 20 millimeter cannon. But I guess if all you've got is a boy's anti-tank rifle and Vickers machine gun, yeah, having a 20 millimeter autocannon that's magazine fed is pretty nasty and a hell of an improvement. All right. Got those pieces cut out. What do we do with them? All right. We're going to attach them like so. And then this piece, we want to make sure all this stuff is in place before we go and have live glue on it. You know what I mean? And then this attaches like this and fits here at the top. Okay. All right, that's cool. We could do that. Now I'm going to grab my other piece. I'm going to grab my other tools because I need a little bit more fine motor skills with this one. Is that it? Nope. Come on. The ones I wanted to buy another pair. I wanted to buy another pair of these, and then I saw how much they cost, and my interest in buying another pair went out the window. Now, in typical, there's no locator markers for this. I gotta do it a la Rodin. I'm gonna locate it even with the bottom. Let's just go all the way around. Well, we'll do one side, and then we'll come around and do the other one. What models you guys working on if you're working on models? Leave me alone, I'm working on a model. It's funny because the model group people, they don't play games, and the game people don't build models. And I'm like, yeah, I like both. I don't want to build a model that I know is never going to see any action. We will not be painting this in Portland stone or light stone. because I have lots of other desert colors from that set that I haven't gotten to use. Plus, I bought the colors for Italy. What is it, khaki, and the other one's called like mud or something like that. I'm like, I got to do that. I got to do some of those. Just for variety. Your next one is a Kulan Panzer 3G, but I'm taking a break tonight. Starting tomorrow AM, I'm going to work on a couple of those Battle Honors buildings for North Africa. Oh, I thought you just got the Normandy ones. That's cool. The only problem I have with North Africa buildings is I don't know that much of the action happened around urban areas. Well, I guess if you're doing like Bardia or something like that. I mean, the North African buildings look cool. It's not about that. Okay, so I've noticed a difference. I've noticed a difference with how this glue behaves on this plastic, and it behaves much better. This glue likes this plastic a lot better. Now, I think now I can grab this little guy. All right. And this thing is so light. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything. Any vehicle you're definitely not building, like I'm definitely not going to build one of those. I was actually looking forward to getting a duck so I could make fun of how ugly that thing is. But I don't want to pay full price for it. I mean, it's ugly as sin. Ugliest truck around. One of the ugliest trucks around. I think one of the best looking trucks is those Dodge 1 3/4 ton or 3/4 ton ambulances. That's a great looking vehicle. I don't know what it's called. You know which one I'm talking about. You always see them as, they look like the front of them looks almost like a Studebaker. They look good. Good looking 40s vehicle. But I've never seen one not in ambulance livery. So I don't know if they just didn't use them or. That's an attractive truck, in my opinion. All right. You're not doing aircraft for a while, although very inspired by yours. Well, just wait till I'm finished. The Airfix numbering system was designed in the 1960s when their instructions were written step by step. The kits are all 1960s toolings to use the old numbering system. I'm magnetizing the bases of your 20 millimeter, 28 millimeter, very British Civil War and Lord of the Rings figures. 5 millimeter magnets and green stuff. Even if you don't transport your stuff, if you plan on only playing at home like I do, it's nice to have the bottoms magnetized because you can put them on a tray and then move them from here to there. And unless you fall on the ground, they're not going to shift or topple over or bend a rifle or. And if you're using plastic figures, it adds some heft to them and it adds some heft on the bottom that keeps them upright. So I'm a fan. That's going to be the only Litco product I got plenty of them right now. I think I got like 200 of them or something. Okay, we got 38 and 30, 37 and 38, which I think are the axles that are coming through here. Not the axles, the yeah, I guess they're drive axles. Yeah, the drive axles. Yeah. Oh, they look big there, but they're little. So one thing I was on my short-term radar to do, and it's disappeared off of it because I got like real stuff to do here. But I want to go to the dollar store and I want to buy some boxes. I want to buy some boxes that, some cheap boxes that I don't really need and I'd be happy to return. I'm not going to do anything with them other than sort stuff. So, like, say for instance, I'm done with this Humber and I notice that there's like a couple extra wheels I don't need. Put them in the British bin. There's a box called, the all British stuff. And then when I go through all the kits that I have, and when I got all the British stuff in there, then individually bag things like, extra Bren guns, extra 50 cals, 30 cals, whatever, so that I can find them easily. Because right now, I kind of know where things aren't, but like these Shermans, some of them are going to get 50 caliber machine guns in them. I mean, heck, they got a little turret ring with a little hole in it for it. That's better than some of the other ones. And I've got some extra ones. So, I did screw up. I didn't notice which one was 38, which one was 37. Well, you know what? I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. But I'd like to do that just for... I got a lot of extra pieces. Like, between the Martyr 3s and the... Well, I used some of the Czech 38 parts, making those extra Czech 38s, but I got a lot of extra parts that I'm just not going to throw away. I mean, they're good parts. It'd be a crime to. I normally put my figures in 4-liter, really useful boxes with magnet sheet. They're stackable. Yep. You got to keep the dust off of them, Okay, so part of it attaches here in the center and goes up to the other one. Okay, so let's see. It's a 50-50 chance of it being the right one. And it doesn't look like they have any taper to them. Like one is the same as the other one. So let's say I wanted to put this one here. Does it fit? No. All right, does it fit here? Yes. Well, that's the one that goes there then. Okay. And then this one here to here should fit. Yep. I'm going to rotate this. And then what I'm going to do is, what this is supposedly for is, you got it in place, and dribble this cement there, and it'll glue it all together. I rarely get a chance to use that function that it has. Universal joint. That's what it is. It's like a U-joint. Okay. We're done with that box. Yeah, we skipped the turret. We can go back to the turret. Let's get the body together. All right. Now we've got the husk of it. Oh, we just pulled a Marcus. We did the stuff that nobody gives a shit about, except Marcus. Oh, one of these was for Marcus. Here you go, Marcus. Here's the underside for you, which is useful if I want to make that a wreck. That's going to be a beautiful truck. I can already tell. It's got, some of this Airfix things has some fiddly details, but they have a lot more details than some other things. This truck actually has a lot of detail on it. Looks a lot better than the Opel Blitz one. Matchbox kits use the sensible numbering system for their tanks. Where all the same parts have the same number, the newer Airfix toolies are more sensibly numbered. So the Japanese are very sensibly numbered. All right, I got to figure out which side's front, which one's the back. There's a notch here. There's the notch. Okay, so this is aligned like that. Okay. We're going to start on this side. Number 2. Here. By the way, for inquiring minds want to know, this plastic doesn't seem very brittle. So this is probably like in a controlled environment, i.e. not a garagey. Not in a garage. Would you like it in a garage? Would you like it in a carriage? Okay, so this guy's going to go on this side. And we're going to go to the opposite side. That's piece number 3, which should be this one. The Airfix LVT Buffalo and Willie's new tooling. Not sure if you have that kit. I don't know my LVT things. That one's just not armed with anything, right? That's just like a boat with tracks. Might have a fitty in it or something. That was the thing I thought was the most impressive at that reenactment show, was when they fired the 50 caliber. Like, you could definitely tell it's not a machine gun. It's like it's in its own category. You know, it is a small cannon. You know, if you're just mowing guys down in the open, it's not your best choice. If you got guys that are in a building that's made of wood and they're being a nuisance, that's a good choice. Go in there and just punch through the building. You don't care if they're there. You don't get any cover from that. It's going to go right in it. I mean, you'll get some cover, but, you know, you're also going to get splinters if you're the defender. Okay, this goes over here. This one goes on this side, right? Let's make sure that these fit correctly before we put each other in. Now, okay, it tapers this way, and this fits in the notch. Does it fit in the notch? Yes, okay. So it fits like that. Perfect. Honestly, the Airfix, other than the flash that it had, it wasn't bad. The video didn't do it. It never does. You know what video and pictures don't do justice? Mountains. I've been to some places, I've taken pictures of it, and it's like, no. Now, mountains are just, you got to be there. Like that place I went to Canada a couple of years ago, whatever, Lake Louise. You take pictures, you're standing in the middle of this lake. Then in the summertime, you'd be wet. I don't know how deep it is, 10 feet deep, 8 feet deep, 6 feet deep, something deep. And you're in this valley, and you're surrounded by, it's just, it's incredible. And then you take a photo of it, it's like, meh. You know, it just doesn't do it justice. Yeah, it's funny because the video doesn't do it justice. Because when you're looking at the 50 caliber and it's firing, boom, 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 every time that thing's burping, the flame that is coming off that 50 caliber, first of all, is at least this tall, you know, that tapers out towards where the bullet is going. It's impressive. And I looked at the video, I'm like, you can't see that. I don't know why the video obfuscates that, but you can't see that. You've been there, totally agree. What you know about that hobby store is incredible. That hobby store is incredible. Except the dweezels that work there. They're like, I said, man, this hobby section, man, the historical section's awesome that you guys have. Like, that's the owner's part, and that's his fetish. It doesn't make any money. I'm like, well, you're talking to the owner, dude. Yeah, I'd fire your ass. Maybe you can't do that in Canada. You got to like apologize 12 times straight backwards or something, you know. Like that was an impressive store if it just had Warhammer shit. Okay, but once I found out there were historicals up there, I'm like, oh, I gotta get my camera. I mean, that's literally how it went. I walked in and I'm like, oh man, this is a big, oh, it's a big freaking place. Man, it's a big place. I'll just take photos. And then I go and like, oh, there's a whole floor, well, really a half floor. That's all historicals. I'm like, I'm coming right back. Let me go get my gear. That was impressive. That was like, I felt like I was some 1982 somewhere. And it was not a dusty place at all. It wasn't like, you know, like some place that had never taken inventory since 1982. No, it was like the upkeep was there. I was impressed. And the funny thing is, I found out about that place from my original Mitch, from my buddy Jeff. He'd apparently been there. I don't know what the hell Jeff's doing in freaking Calgary. I mean, that's a bit out of the way, but he knew about that place, and I'll be damned if he wasn't right. That's the most impressive store I've ever been in. I mean, it's not even close. I went in the early 2000s, so I bet that World War II 20 millimeter segment was even larger then. Yeah. The one true scale. I don't care if other people do other skills. They have their reasons. Same reason that I have my reasons for doing 20 mil. And my biggest reason is I've never played Warhammer stuff. You know, so there's no love there. Okay, this goes like this in the front here. Okay, so let's snip off. I hope these vehicles have some headlights to paint. I love painting headlights. Makes them happy. Meep meep. Let's get a little closer with this. I wonder what the lifespan on is a pair on the Tamiya cutters. I mean, I don't want to buy another set of them. They're $25 freaking, but and they don't feel like they're dull. I'm just wondering. Some things are like really adamant about how many times you can use them, and you got to buy another one. Oh, only good for 12 uses or something like that. And one of the things I'm surprised it doesn't tell you that is razor blades. You know, like if you buy, you know, Gillette Fusions or whatever it is that you buy, you know, like, oh, you can only replace these once a week. They don't say anything like that. Off to bed. You're going to Montrose Air Station Heritage Center tomorrow morning. Sadly, won't have my camera as waiting for a new charger for the battery. We'll catch you on Sunday. Okay, Jeffrey. Be well. Travel safe. Yeah, it is late for you. I would not be able to stay up this late. I actually woke up at before my wake up time today. So I've been up a while. I'm not tired. I like this putting off dinner until late. I think all of a sudden I'm taking Spanish dinners. Well, there's a reason I'm doing it, so I don't eat the freaking house. It worked great yesterday. We're going to try it again. What's your hobby? I eat houses. Really? Yeah, my own. I usually start with my own. All right, let's glue this sumbitch down. You got to peel off soon? Good hobby weekend ahead, though. Yeah, I think so. You don't mind the no paintings when we do just builds, right? You don't mind if we're just doing builds sometimes. I like to mix it up. I got both areas. I just didn't want to do the plane and like cogitate and not get much done because I only have like an hour. I just didn't want to get into that. And I really need to go to Hobby Lobby tomorrow and see if I could find a stand that's thinner. I don't know that I don't know that I want to go as thick as a stand on that, and that's definitely needs to be on something, and it needs to be on something that doesn't warp. You like it all? You need to get terrain inspired. Yeah, start slinging goop. All right, so we have this in here. So we have a point where that glues. So we need to put these two fenders. Yeah, I'm gonna be on here till 8, and then at 8 I'm gonna be like, okay, it's time to go eat dinner and spend time with a wifeful unit. That is piece 18? It is not. It is piece 5. Okay. Well, we won't even touch that thing then. That's not it either. There's piece 5. Usually historically this is a bad night. Friday nights are usually a bad night. People don't want to nerd out on Friday night, I guess. Well, that's the last day I want to go out is on Friday night because I'm beat, especially this week. I used all my remaining strength to take a shower. I ain't got no more strength. I like the British armored cars except the really late war ones. They're ugly as sin. Staghounds are just, they got an ugly ass turret. I found out they're actually, one of those is actually a Ford or somebody. It's like an American vehicle. I'm like, what are you guys doing driving those things around? It looks like ass. Only good part about it is it's got, it's got British unit markings, which are almost all pretty decent. See if we can knock this guy out. I'm excited to do that Sherman. I wasn't always this way about Shermans. There's something about like when I find out something, it's a contrarian in me. Like people are like, it's just a Sherman. I'm like, all right, screw you. We're gonna build a lot of Shermans then. And a way to make it, things that look boring seem interesting. I get it why people would find them boring, but you know, you can't just paint it like blah and you know and be excited about it. All right. Which is which? That has that little knob towards the inside. Okay, so this goes towards the inside. And hopefully this axle is perfectly in the center of this. And if it's not perfect, it's pretty darn close. That is a good sign. Man, this brush this thing comes with is amazing. And it's no additional charge. And I saw a thing or an article about, you know, when you run low on the cement, you can pull on the end and make the bristles come out. You don't want to do that. You want to just get more of this fluid and fill it up. Because it'll misshapen the... it'll misshapen the bristles. I did that to one and regretted it. And I ended up using that one as the refill one. You know, you're supposed to apply this to both sides, but the stuff evaporates so quick that if you do that, you know, you just go back and forth, you know, and not get anywhere. So I put it on one side and then hope for the best. And if it needs some reinforcing, you can always come in and apply some, almost like if you're welding. Like if this needs more reinforcement, you just come in here and just add a little bit on the inside. And you take a model that has 50 pieces and end up turning it into a model that has one piece. You roll it all together into one piece. That's the idea anyways. Okay. And we do the back plate now. Which hopefully fits in there correctly. Yeah, it's pretty close. Japanese position. I'm not going to glue it because it meets a piece on the top. And I want to make sure, I'm not sure that this is supposed to be flush all the way across. It might be one of those things that it needs to be up just a tiny bit. So when it meets the other one, I don't want there to be a gap. So we can always glue that a little later. Mr. Barnes, welcome. It's time for a different part of Britain to take over. Excellent. Welcome back, my friend. We're doing one of your guys' vehicles, one of your attractive armored cars. A Daimler. A Daimler. Okay, 18 is the next piece, and that's this little piece on the front. Armored car equipped with a 2-liver. A what? A 2-pounder. And I bet it's got a Beza and a coax. Is it a Beza or a Beza? Which one do you guys say? It's probably Beza. I think that's made in the same factory that made the Bren gun. Yep. Perfect Japanese precision. Bisa. Okay, a Bisa. Pisa pisa. I gotta remember that. Misa pisa. Bisa kick your ass. Just when you thought that Jar Jar Binks was the worst thing they could have come up with for Star Wars. Boy, you guys had no idea. All right. We have a interesting superstructure. You had one of these die cast. Was it one of those that was die cast in like the random scale? Like it wouldn't tell you what scale it was? Dinky. Dinky was famous for that, right? They wouldn't tell you what scale it was. It was just some random scale. They're the ones that made the German half-track that had the, I almost said the Farfignugan. Wurferhammer. The Wurferhammer's on the side. That is one of those weapons that I think are worthless. It's bad enough to have a weapon, I mean, as a miniature to use in a war game. It's bad enough to have something like a Sturmorser Tiger that has a 15-inch mortar. You know, it's like the sawed-off Bismarck gun, you know, that fires once every 3 years, and everybody in there is crammed, and you need a crane on the back to reload the thing. That's bad enough. But how about whatever, I think they're huge freaking rockets. You know, you can't like direct fire. At least a 15-inch gun, you could be like, hey, those guys are 100 yards away. Like, bah! You know? You can't do that with a Wurferhammer rockets. It's got to be limited use, limited trajectory. Yep, dinky. Those things were expensive. Like I remember as a kid, they had dinky and they had, you know, it was back in the 70s when they had things, when they made things in Britain and they sent them here. And those Britain's figures, which, you know, if you look at them now, like, man, those were painted like ass. You know, but they were expensive. I never got those. I always wanted them, never got them. Although Britons might have had that same issue where they made a lot of British things and they didn't make like people that fought them. I don't know if that's the case, but I think it might have been. Like you need, uh-oh, what's happening here? Something queer is afoot. Let's pull this off. Something ain't right. This is not fitting up high enough because this is supposed to fit in here. You put this, it's like it's asking me to put over it. I'm like, it doesn't fit on there. I mean, I can make it fit. I think that's what I'm going to have to do. What do we want to use for this? Let's see if we can, let's see if I got a new blade of this. This one looked like it's been brushing the teeth of something. I didn't find anybody on Amazon that was selling those for like really cheap. I think they're called a number 10. I'm like, that's not a very useful blade until you get one. And then you're like, oh, this thing is awesome. It does all kinds of stuff that my other blades can't do. Like, oh, let's see if they make one. Oh, they don't. That's a different version of it. I don't have one of those, but I have one of these chisel ones. Let's try the chisel one. Do we have a chisel one that's small? No. Scheiße. Let's try this wonky ass thing. This is the craziest blade I've seen. This might actually work better. So we need to reduce this by, and I don't know why this happened, because honestly, this is a pretty tight fit on everything. I found that under a rock. It must have been 5 or 6 at the time. Oh, the a die cast thing? Oh, you took some kid's stash. Maybe he was just some kid that needed to hide his war toys from his parents. I don't know. You're older than I am. That didn't happen. We all played with freaking war toys, and we're not warmongers or anything like that. We had toy guns that didn't have orange barrel thingies on them. Like, come on, nobody got hurt. Like, my dad was really strict about watching horror movies, dressing up for Halloween. I couldn't dress up as, monsters or anything like that. But if it was like historical stuff with like little toy guns or battleships or things like that, oh yeah, all in. I didn't have one of them pussyfoot dads that, who do you call a pussyfoot dad? Dads that are pussyfoots? Tenders. Come on, man. Whoop! Let's not go there. I heard that snap. That crackle. That was a crackle, actually. All right, now, when I put this on, and I put this on it, no, this needs to fit. Why doesn't it fit on there? Like the distance is too great? All right, let's try this. Let's try spread. No, you can't. That's like a fixed, that's one piece. Ooh, I'm going to report you to the authorities in Nippon, and somebody's going to have to commit harikiri. You bring shame on your society. What if I glue it like this? That fits on there. Now it's even. And something fits across the front, but now the front's not even. Ay, Dios mío. Okay. Well, I was not expecting this from a Japanese model that's not an old Fujimi. Because you never know what you're going to get with an old Fujimi. Some of those are all like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. All right, so let's punt on this. We're going to put this other piece that's on the back. And hopefully we don't have the same issue with it. Okay? That's piece number 8. This won't be a problem. That if I could solve that issue with a Sherman yesterday with the 3 pieces, this is a piece of cake. I had another X-Acto knife here. I got so many of these damn X-Acto knives, I might as well have different type of blades in each one. Let's load one of these in here. I'd like to get this thing finished tonight. Nope, and then grab the same one. Idiot. Where's my parole officer? That's right, I ate his brains. None of those low-flying helicopters. I swear I should be able to defend my airspace. I'll be right back. I'll be on the Bofors for a little bit. Okay. This door faces this way. So this needs to fit like so. All right. And this seems to fit perfectly. And this is going to go ever so slightly on top of it. That's why I didn't want to glue this thing on the back. I was expecting there to be trouble. That's going to fit like that. This is going to fit over it like that, which fits perfectly. And now that fits over this. Okay. But the problem is that this piece won't fit inside of there. So we're going to make it fit. I still want the front flush. So what I'm going to do is I want that to sit here. So what I need to do is take a little bit off the end here. So please, no more bending over. I did enough of that this week. Just a little notch. Just a wee notch. How'd we do? 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 Suck it, Hiroshi. Bam. Your fingers are shot tonight. Spent my time drilling hands and cutting plastic bristles for pikes. Man, I need to find one of those. I need to find one of those bristle things. Oh, really? Now another helicopter? You bastard. I need to find one of those bristle things you can use for antennas. People keep saying to use them. I've never seen bristles thin enough to use as antennas, because that'd be nice to have them flexible. Hell, they're already black. Perfect. Perfect. That was weird that happened. That was an easy enough fix. And now this should fit wonderfully. No? Pretty much. Let's push this down a little bit more. Get in there, you. You thing, you. It's got a little front plate. I'm going to glue that on before I have to try to get it in at some weird angle. That's piece 34. 34. Here's 4. Not the same. Let's look at 34. 34. So what happens with war games and people in Britain? Do they always automatically want to play the English? I noticed that kind of stuff is prevalent among youth. Like, you want to play Americans when you're a kid. When you're an adult, you don't care so much. I like playing the English, unless I'm playing, the army of that Tudor bitch. I picked favorites when we're talking about the Armada. You don't like her either. Oh, man. I never got around to making Longshank's army. Or, there's several things I really wanted to get around to doing, and I never got around to doing them. Longshank's army, pre-feudal Scots, you know. Pre-feudal Scots would have been cool. It's like, I don't know. He's like, oh, they don't use tartan. Yeah, they do. There's not established tartan family lines and stuff. But they used tartan stuff when there was the ancient Celts. You just can't look at stripe colors and like, oh, that's my great ancestor McDougal or whatever. Cute little thing. All right. 9, 4, and 23. Okay, they all go together. Here's 9. I want to do it over here. Nine, 4. Not much left on that sprue. Here's 22. Here's 23. Well, this is where the headlamp is. This is the kind of vehicle I need in Britain. One that you drive right in the center of the vehicle. And then take it to the desert where there's no roads. I don't like the angle that I'm working at this at. I'm expecting. Here's the X-Acto knife. Where's my chaperone? There we go. Okay, here's the 3 pieces to make that up. All right, where are we putting them in? Okay, 9 is sitting like this. Okay, then the lid is this thing. And then the front, where it has a little headlamp, which I can't wait to paint. Yeah, we'll put that on first. All right, first of all, we'll scare our little grippy things. These are really good for not getting your fingerprint on there. Which is then something that you need to sand off. There we go. And now so it's so weird to push down to loosen something out. It's an odd combination. Okay. And now, little guy, let's sit up here. Now there's a little notch for it, so that's good. Now you make sure this is set in place. There we go. That fits in that notch like that. And before we glue that, because this glue is working really well on this plastic, let's look at piece 22, we need to leave some space for it to do its magic. I really like the symbol of the 6th Armor Division as well. That nailed fist. But I think they were the ones that got disbanded in 1944, I think. Like, man, couldn't you just disbanded somebody who had like a shittier marking? So if that's there, does this fit okay like this? It does. Okay, good. Now we'll glue it in place. Yeah, this suspension being all fiddly is actually pretty robust. If it had been like a Rodin or whatever, I'd have to be a lot more careful with all these little suspension pieces. That's not to say the Rodins don't build together well. It just, you got to be careful. You got to be careful you don't create a lot of repair work for yourself. Okay, here's the front of that little guy. It's not bad for $2 frickin'. I would have bought more if they would have had them. How many's too many? I don't know. I don't think I would have bought more than 6. But then if you have that many, you're like, all right, I'll do one in light stone. I'll do one in light stone with the camo brown. I'll do a couple for Tunisia, a couple for Italy. You know, you don't have to decide, man, I only get one. What am I going to build it for? Like, you just make every version. Okay, 29 and 30 are hanging out on that piece right there. $29 and $30. Okay. 29's here, 30's there. Sometimes I just don't feel like using clippers. And actually, I'm looking forward to doing some aircraft. Like a good model. That model that I have is not a good model. It's still going to turn out fine, but it's not a good model. Like a high quality model. You know, it's got raised panel lines where it should have sunken ones, and what I'm doing with it is just perfect, but we got some other planes that are better. We got that, well, we got a 110, ME 110, which I may actually have to get decal. That's probably the last plane I'm going to build. Of all the planes that I have, that's probably the last one I'm going to build. I got another 109E, which I also plan on wrecking. Unless I change my mind. And then we'll do it for Battle of Britain. I don't like early war stuff, except Battle of Britain. I like Battle of Britain. I like Battle of Britain stuff. I got that Spitfire I need to finish that has that ridiculous white and black camouflage on the underneath part. It just doesn't even look right. That one's complete. Go over to the other side. 35 and 20. Okay, I saw those little pieces there. Here's 35. I like it when pieces don't look anywhere near each other, because you just cut them off and then you don't worry. You don't have to look at like which one was which one. Like, okay, they don't look anything alike. Like, there's no chance of that happening. One's the bottom and one's the top. Yeah, the problem with these little parts for me isn't seeing them. It isn't cutting them out. It isn't gluing them. It's if there's anything sanding related, like, I guess this would be considered one of them. You need to, they're difficult to get a purchase on it, to hold it still while you cut off the extra stuff to it. That's the part that's hard for me. Like this it isn't a problem to see this, like piece of cake seeing. Thank goodness I'm nearsighted, otherwise I'd be using one of them loops. Okay. Put the two pieces that we get all the way around this thing. There we go. Excellent. Okay. All right, so it's going to sit at an angle like this. It's going to be attached to the fender, right? And then it's got like a little lid, and most of it is on this side of it. Okay, so we're going to install it this way. Well, I think it's been kind of a hit for me to mix up the painting and the model building. That's good because I like both things. I'm a much better painter than a model builder. I mean, it's not even close. That doesn't mean I'm no good at this. I'm just like, that's where my experience is. I think most people are better at building models. So. Okay, there's that. All right, and then we have this like tube looking. I'm gonna put everybody to sleep and make sure this isn't, he burped this. Okay, and the 19, sounds like a recycler bin. They're ahead of their time. Okay. And that goes interesting. Interesting. Do we have a fuck up? When I put that one, I put that one here. The problem is they both have a notch. All right, so I have a fuck up. All right, no problem. Nope. Come on, I don't mind fixing this. I don't want to be bent over, groveling on the ground. There we go. No big deal. Shit happens. Being careful, and shit still happens. Okay. Problem is both sides have a little notch on this in the same place. And it probably would have been fine just flipping them around, but I'd like to build one the way it's intended before we start getting artsy. Okay. And then this one will go here. Where you start being artsy and creative. Okay. Wouldn't even be able to tell if I didn't narc on myself. And then this attaches like that. I talked to somebody a while ago. So, I'll just put everything together with super glue. I'm like, that's not very forgiving, dude. Like this, you can't, this is not really glue. It's plastic softener. So you can't glue yourself with this. Okay, this is done. This is done. This is done. This is done. Now, before I flip this thing over, this is also done. Now we'll build the turret. Why didn't you do the turret first? I had to think about whether or not I wanted the turret open. I still don't know that I know that answer. I do like a commander figure in the turret. I just don't like everybody to have their head sticking out. And I still haven't decided yet. It's got nice wheels. Does this have a spare wheel? Oh, yeah. I like the spare wheel. Looks good. Okay, here's the bottom. Here's the top of the turret. Probably going to make it open. There's some pompous guy. Hey, you there? You happen to know where we are? See, growing up, what I did in America, all British people like that would be pompous. They wouldn't be like, oh, you. Excuse me, sir. I'm looking forward to finding cool ways of painting this. If you guys ever played Advanced Squad Leader, it's a pretty decent game. I had a friend of mine who ran a couple of blind Advanced Squad Leaders games. So what that means is it requires a referee. It requires people that don't have anything planned for like most of a day. Look at that. Look at that precision Japanese finish. Precision. And it requires 2 sets of boards. And people who know how to play the game well. Boy, it doesn't screw around. Just stick this to that, okay? You still have it in the loft. It's a good game. I don't think... There's only 2 things that would keep me from playing Advanced Squad Leader now. There's 3 things I don't like about the game. First of all, it's a bell curve 2 6-sided dice. And I don't like that because a -1 isn't necessarily always the same. It doesn't have the same value. It depends what your core number is before you roll it. Because a -1 on a base 7 is different than a -1 on a base 8. But anyways, I don't like that about it. I don't like that the phases of the game, this is probably the thing I dislike the most. The phases of the game are very predictable. And they're not very, what do you call it? They're not very, oh, looks like I will be able to move this towing and not towing. Oh, but I can't tow it anyways because it's one lopped over the other one and I can't do that now. Okay, well. Open up. Involved. It's not very involved. It's not like DBA where, basically both people are involved all the time. Somebody rolls, you got to roll against them. It's comparing die rolls and stuff like that. It's not like that. It's like, okay, it's a prep fire phase. Okay, just sit around and not do anything while you decide what you're going to do. And obviously, if there's a morale check or whatever, you do that right then and there. But it's not very involved. One guy's sitting around all the time. It's not terrible, but when you play something cool like DBA, I don't play DBA, but there's a lot of things that it does right. There's a lot of things that it did click for me that no other game did, and that's one of them. And then lastly, as opposed to lastly, is sometimes you have to squint your brain with the whole line of sight thing. If you played Advanced Squad Leader and ported it exactly to a computer, everybody would be playing it. Now, there's a couple games that are close. I don't know how Lock and Load Tactical hasn't gotten sued because it's a lot like Advanced Squad Leader. But actually, now that I look at it, I like the way that it behaves better than Advanced Squad Leader. But it's basically the same type of game. But anyway, so you need 2 sets of boards and all that stuff. I played it quite a bit. I played, 50, 60 games of it. It's been a long time, but I played 50 or 60 games of it. I never got my head around DBA. Yeah, I don't... It's amazing that I played it for as long as it did, because it's not because of the period. It's just that it's abstract as shit, and I am not an abstract player. I don't like things that are abstract. I don't understand abstract math. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anywho, so you're not a DBA person. So you're not one of the DBA acolytes that found my channel from DBA days. Well, that's good, because we're never going back to that. If I wanted to play Ancients and Medievals or something like that, I'm more likely to create my own game than play something that has all kinds of things that don't make sense to anybody. There we go. That fits in there great. But it requires 2 sets of boards. And so this guy, you don't want to play a regular scenario blind, because you know that there's what the victory conditions are. You want to just, he created these scenarios that out of the blue. And really quick, I learned, like, you start doing things because it makes sense, not because it's necessarily the conditions of the game. So you send a half squat up on a hill so you could see where some enemies are. Now, when other units were moved, he'd use the question marks, and he'd say, okay, well, there's rifle firing here, rifle and machine gun fire, or heavy machine gun fire, that kind of stuff. So there's definitely fog of war is king. You end up starting to do things just to screw with the other guy, right? You'd go and somewhere, your objective might be to get off the board in here, but you fake some guys the other way, so he thinks that your objective may be something different. So it just adds a whole other level of coolness that a normal game doesn't have. So one of the scenarios that we played, he named the scenario, "Make hay while the sun still shines." And I'm playing British, and I've got some armored cars. And this is around like Market Garden or something like that. And I forget what my objective was in that game. But I ran this armored car. But there's all these squads that they're on this road. I need to do something with this road. And I wanted to scout to see where the enemy infantry was. So I didn't want to bring my tanks and get hosed by Panzerfaust. So I took this armored car. I don't know if it was one of these. It probably was. Something like this. And zipped down a road as fast as my little wheels could go, hoping that my opponent would take pot shots with his Panzerfaust. Because it's not that I want to get this guy killed, but I'd rather lose an armored car than a Cromwell or a Sherman or something. Because Panzerfaust is like the honey badger. You don't give a shit. You're hit, you're roasted. Save maybe a JS2 on the front, or somehow the Russians capture one and or the Americans capture one and you hit a Jagdtiger in the front. Elephant in the front, maybe. Other than that, everything else, dead. Like, if it hits, you're a goner. It is literally, there's no weapon more deadly than a Panzerfaust. It's got a ridiculously stupid range, but it's deadly as shit. It's as bad as like a flamethrower. You're getting hit by a flamethrower, like, it's over. You carried on playing WRG 7th. Yeah, I've never played an ancient game or medieval game other than DBA. Just nobody in my area played it. Nobody in my area played Romans. You got to play, when you're a kid, you got to play stuff that other people play. I never played Romans before. I don't have anything against them. I just never played them. Right. That's funny because it actually looks rather large because it's 1/72 scale. That little bit makes a difference. All right, I'm going to have to stop here. Actually, before I do that, let me go check on something. Be right back. Okay, folks, we'll be back in the morning. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me. And we'll see you in a few hours. Have a good night. Bye bye.